What was the video I wanted to watch? It was so interesting. Oh, this one. Okay, it's a 7-minute video called My Favorite Subject in the World. When does US debt become genuinely bad? And it's already got a ton of views, so I want to know.
After the big tariff announcement, something happened that shocked economists. And it wasn't the stock market dropping. It was the value of the dollar dropping.
Everyone, just make sure if you have all of your money in dollars to diversify into either, you could do precious metals or you could do Fortnite V-Bucks. Okay? Either one. Fortnite V-Bucks will hold their value. You can have, but you need to have something that is not the American dollar as it weakens. Crypto is a great example. Crypto. CS skins. Yes. Dogecoin. Yes. Trump coin. Yes.
For 20 years, we've had a budget deficit.
Okay.
2024's $1.8 trillion deficit was added to the combined deficits from the past years. This is the total running national debt.
I can't believe this is the last time right here. The only time in my entire life they didn't run a deficit was like 2 years at the end of the 90s. And then George Bush said, nah. Nah, dude. That shit's gay. That is so gay. And then he's like, we're going to have a war. We're going to have tax cuts. We're going to have, Bush said, yeah, watch this drive and just golf swing. Yeah, 9/11 really did a number, huh?
But obviously our economy now is bigger than back then. So here it is as a percentage of GDP. This is a better way of looking at it.
You guys should see this. This is an important chart. I'll move my thing down here. So we haven't had debt to GDP this high since the middle of World War II. We have World War II level debt as if we are fighting a global war, but we are supposedly in good times. So God willing, we don't have any quote unquote bad times or any conflicts because we can't go much higher.
We're at World War II levels.
Oh, don't steal my...
In fact, the U.S. Treasury raised this money by selling bonds.
Buy a bond.
Are they going to make streamers do this in the next war? Am I going to have to shill war bonds to my viewers during World War III? Oh, God.
When they buy a treasury security, they don't buy a corporate equity and give the money to a corporation to invest. They don't stick it in a savings account and have a bank loan it out to build.
They don't buy gifted subs, okay? And therefore, I can't stimulate the economy by buying Uber Eats deliveries of Chipotle. Do you see the problem? Do you see how the economy starts to flatline when everybody has to put their money in bonds?
We have so much debt that we're borrowing to pay the interest on the previous debt. Well, that's like getting a new credit card to pay off the old one. And if you're doing that...
Which is based, by the way. If you do that, it's actually a really cool thing to do. Because here's the thing. If that becomes a problem, just get a third credit card to pay off the second one. Do you see how you can't lose? Do you see how there's no way to... No matter what happens, you're already set up because you can just... It's an infinite money glitch. You can borrow as much as you want. Just get the government to bail you out. Get a debt big enough and they will.
If the publicly held debt goes above roughly 175% of GDP, things get pretty hard at that point, and 200% is really the drop dead limit.
This guy's like one of those climate scientists that keeps saying like, we better figure it out soon. Everything that I've read says once you hit 120% debt GDP, it's fucking over. Like that's like where we're at. I don't know if it needs to go to 175. All I've seen is once you hit 120, you can't go back. No one's gone back. And no one breaks above 120 and then figures it out.
So we did this as an outer bound exercise. But some people ask, when could things unravel before that? And the answer is, it could be tomorrow. As soon as capital markets believe that Congress and the president are not going to get their act together, everything unravels. And it unravels very...
Well, then I don't have to worry about that then. You're telling me that this all hinges on the world believing in the stability and sanity of Congress and the president, that they're going to get their act together and figure out how to pay for this. Then we're good. We've got a rock solid team, sir. They're stable. They're genius. We're good. We're safe. I would not be worried at all.
So if interest on a U.S. security goes up, so do mortgages. So do even the safest AAA rated corporate bonds.
Yep. If the U.S. is riskier to loan to, then your mortgage in the U.S. has to be even higher of a rate because no one will loan you money when they can just loan the government money. And the government, if that goes up to 6-7%, then yours has to be 7, 8, 9. That's how it goes. So Yeah, that is a knock-on effect of the U.S. becoming a riskier place to park your money.
Problem with the debt crisis is that once it happens, you can't just debt your way out of it.
We might be able to borrow during the next.
First of all, watch us. First of all, watch us. We have and we will. You can't stop us. All right?
Some policymakers argue if the U.S. economy does better, we can basically grow our way out of it.
Sure.
Economists say this could work if the debt wasn't already so big. So is the debt bad? It's not until it suddenly is.
Slowly than all at once, you might say. Madeline Marshall. Hey, good video. I can spot the U.S. if they just get over their pride and ask stuck-up sons of bitches. Americans, we need to swallow our pride and ask Wyatt Matcha here for money. I know it feels bad, but we just need to do it. Wyatt, can we get $37 trillion? What happened to this debt problem happens to every Western nation at once? I live in the UK. A bigger recession. I mean, it happened in the UK before, after World War II. That was when UK had to do this really, really, really painful revaluing of their currency because they were trying to pretend they were still a big dog financially. But after World War II, they had, almost no colonies. They had massive, massive, massive debts. They had no export growth. And America took it all. And then the UK had to pretend that they were still a big dog, and they had to revalue the shilling way down. And it was kind of an embarrassing reset. And they had a deep recession. And they had, anyway, it is familiar what U.S. is going through right now, where they're kind of pretending to be more solvent than they are. So they should have kept their colonies? Obviously not. But there's a difference between what they did in Hong Kong, right, where they back away of their own choice, and then what they did post World War II, which is they ran out of money, ran out of the ability to even keep the colonies maintained, and usually had to run with the tail between their legs. Does this mean a revalue of the dollar at some point? You don't really have to revalue the dollar in a floating fiat system, but what you would have to do is inflate to pay the debt. You'd have to just print a bunch of money, and it would dramatically make the dollar weaker. It's not you don't pick a number to revalue it at like you do in the old times, but when you get to that point of the cycle, it's not good. Weakening the dollar to make exports more competitive. Yeah, people say that. I mean, it's true, but there's the Econ 101 aspect of it, which it would do this. And then, the next level is that okay, but the medium-term process of that is enormous inflationary pain for everybody. If we close our eyes and go, la, 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 maybe the debt will go away. I'm not seeing ideas from anyone else. Hung Sheldon's got an idea. What if every time somebody asks for their money back, we go, what? No, I didn't borrow any money. Nah, you playing. And then just ignore it. What money? We don't even use money here. Bro, maybe you owe me money. Telling Japan, what if we used our one time with every borrower? It's actually such a good idea. This is my one time. Japan, China, Korea, the UK. This is my one time. Just cut me a break. No more debt. Couldn't we just not pay and then fight them off with our $1 trillion a year military? I hear that a lot. It's not a case of them not, if we don't pay Japan, it's not like Japan's going to be all right, we're going to attack you now and get our money. It's that nobody will loan us money anymore. That's what happens. You're still running these massive deficits, but no one will loan you money because you've defaulted. And once you default even once, it has this long-lasting effect for decades on your borrowing costs, which again makes mortgages more expensive in America, makes everything more expensive. For example, Greece, when they've defaulted, their borrowing costs are really high for many, 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 many years afterwards. Argentina, people don't trust these countries because they've defaulted. America has not defaulted, essentially since the War of 1812. So we have a rock solid reputation. We always pay back the debt. Why is debt just an American built thing? I think a big part of it is how easy it is to get debt here. We have probably some of the best interest rates in the world on things. For example, American debt for housing is incredible because we can get 30-year fixed mortgages. That doesn't exist in any other country. You can get a 30-year mortgage at a fixed interest rate. So it makes people addicted to debt because it's so easy to get the debt. Can we sell one of the states and pay off the debt with that? Dude, you're joking. But unironically, at some point, some of the options on the table are selling Yellowstone National Park. We need assets on the asset side of the balance sheet that are worth trillions. There's not many things. The things they're talking about are revaluing the gold. All the gold in Fort Knox is currently valued at 1972 prices. They're going to revalue it to $10,000 an ounce or whatever and be like, well, we have trillions of dollars of gold. You need more on the asset side to make you seem like you're capable of paying your debts. Do you see any way in which it's feasible politically for the incumbent party to completely cut the deficit and remain in the White House post-term? This is the big question. This is the big question of the day is who can make the hard choices? Who can cut military spending and not lose their seat? Who can increase taxes and not get kicked out? Who can do this? It's the problem. And that is why people are saying that it won't happen until there's a crisis, until there's a problem, until we hit the wall. Until people realize that things are so bad that someone has to step up, nobody will voluntarily vote for the hard choices. That's the great conflict of our age that we're dealing with. That's the end of the debt cycle problem. Why don't presidents make these choices during their second term on the way out? I mean, Biden could have done something in his first term, but the truth is they have a party. In America, we have such a deeply divided party system that even if the president was on his way out, him making the bad choices would tank his party. And then the next party would probably undo their choices they just made anyway. So it's hard. It's hard to do it early. It's hard to you can only really do it after the problem has happened. What does debt cycle actually mean? I'll show you. When you borrow money or when you make borrowing money easy, line goes up. Okay, line goes up. You're pulling forward from the future, right? So there's more economic activity happening now than there would normally be because you have borrowed from the future to buy things now, to build things now. So there's more factories getting built, more people doing things, more jobs getting created. And then that debt gets greater and greater. You keep borrowing and borrowing and borrowing and borrowing and borrowing until eventually the interest payments on the debt get so high that you have to start beginning to pay it off. And then you get this downward cycle because now there's less activity happening because so much money's going towards interest. Now the money you would have spent to hire that guy or buy the bike or buy the car is being spent on interest payments from all his previous debt. It's the natural downturn that this upturn caused. This is the debt cycle, all right? But in the real world, as this is coming down, we usually find some new way to juice it back up. So it doesn't actually go all the way back down. So there's the mini debt cycle, which is this. This is like a recession. And then it's all part, if you want to zoom out, it's all part of a larger debt cycle that eventually gets to the actual peak of the larger debt cycle. That's what we're at. We're at the part of a larger, a big, a grand debt cycle. And that's when it has to start actually going down, okay? That's when you have to de-lever. Or, you know, the way Ray Dalio would put it is like straight down. Like something big that resets it so you can start again. That's the debt cycle, okay? So like this right here would be like 2008, you know? I mean, we're assuming we're at the top. This could go up 10 more sine waves. I don't know. But like these are recessions, but we're at the end of a larger, greater debt cycle that we're now at 120% debt to GDP. And that's the problem. Like we're now getting so massively in debt that in a recession, we couldn't do our normal game plan. How do we get out of that last debt to GDP? That's a great question. That's why I want to, dude, actually, I'm so glad you asked that because I would love to tell you about, here, for Pride Month, I'll put the flag in the background. It's gay Eisenhower. Dwight D. Eisenhower, dude. For Pride Month. Look at him. He's slaying. One of my themes that I want to come back to over and over again is that, you know, whether you are more of an Eisenhower or more of an FDR, you know, they both have a place and they both really contributed to making America prosperous. And the thing they had in common, whether you were a tax and spend liberal like FDR who raised taxes and raised spending to get us out of the depression, or you are a true fiscal conservative like Eisenhower who deeply cut spending, military spending, massively cut military spending. In fact, had a great speech about the military industrial complex and how we have to make sure not to take over our lives. If you can cut spending and kind of maintain taxes, what he did, he didn't even, you know, he probably like down trickled like this. But they both had a deep sense of like, we have to be able to afford this. And so, you know, Eisenhower is one of the GOAT presidents. I think he's incredible. He's what made this possible. Instead of like undoing all of what FDR did, all the new programs, he kept them and found a way to afford them. It's incredible. So I think both of them are awesome. I think what we have today is leadership that has nowhere near what these guys had. Nowhere near. The leadership today lies to us and pretends that it will ever raise taxes or cut spending. It does neither. So yeah, we would need someone like an Eisenhower right now, since we have World War II level debt, to come in and find out how we can get back towards balance, which he did. I mean, Eisenhower's speech, I wonder if I could pull it up. In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence by the military-industrial complex. The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist. We must never let the weight of this combination endanger our liberties or democratic processes. We must take nothing for granted. Only an alert and knowledgeable citizenry, we don't have that anymore, can compel the proper meshing of the huge industrial military machine of defense with our peaceful methods and goals, so that security and liberty may prosper together. This guy was a goat. These two combined to honestly create all of the 30 years of American prosperity. These two together did so much work for America having 30 golden years. It was Kobe and Shaq. And we don't have any leadership anywhere close to this for a long time. What did Clinton do? Clinton did exactly what you expect him to do, okay? He got a little lucky because it was the tech boom. So there was more tax revenue because the economy was doing so well. And then he raised taxes. He raised the top tax rate to like 39.4%, 40%. And then he got a blowjob in the White House, the big three. And he balanced the budget. And then, the dot-com boom explodes, the bubble bursts. And so revenues go down a bit. But we still would have been fine. We still would have had a surplus for 2003, 4, 5. But then Bush was like, all right, we have a surplus. We got to give a tax cut. Gives a massive tax cut and a war. And the rest is history. We were fine. I mean, Bush blew up our only surplus. And then from then it just got worse and worse and worse. Because then at the end of Bush 2, we had the 08 recession. And then Obama came in and did the massive TARP bailout, $800 billion. And from then on, we've just been in this ever blowing up debt cycle, not even slowing down. So you're saying someone needs to take one to the team and give old Donnie a quick one. I'm saying we need to get Elon back in the White House and on his knees if we're going to get this deficit fixed. It's the only way.